The countdown is up. Happy holidays, friends. It is a Christmas edition of the Revved Up Sports Show. We are diving in. A lot of shows are taking time off, for the holidays and all that, but that's not the way that we do it around here. It is Showtime Bobby Chaffee down south. I'm sorry. It's Santa Claus down south because he's all about Christmas. And I'm the Grinch, Rodney Rodriguez up north, because here we go. Bobby, I'm excited. Okay, this is when I get excited. Festivus is here. After all the preparation, it's finally go time. Like race day. It's race week. It's Christmas week. How you doing, buddy?
Well, it's Christmas Eve, for sure, but I get to start all of my Christmas shopping tomorrow.
I
haven't had time, been a little busy, hadn't had time to really do much of anything else. So we ended up going to a watch party today in San Antonio for the UTSA game. Since logistically we couldn't make it to Myrtle Beach to watch the game in person, so we watched it at a watch party. Been drinking since about 10 o'clock this morning. And so now I don't have an opportunity today to go because we had the show. Not that I don't want to do the show, but unless I catch some of the midnight sales at Ross or something like that tonight when the show's over.
As my mother-in-law says, at the Rosses. She's always like, if you're looking for something, go to the Rosses. But it really is one of those things to me because I think that I really am turning into that crotchety old man. I've been that way for a long time. I think, Bobby, you know that better than most people, but it's like the build up and everything. It's like, okay, now it's here. And this is when I get really fired up about, let's do the deal. Let's do the deal. That's what I'm talking about. So, hey, Merry Christmas to everybody. And that's a whole thing with this. Bobby and I, with the show, as long as we have done this, it's always been one of those things to where a Christmas show is very important. And, we know that people may not have time to check in to this, but it's important because we have such a really good following and folks are going to be doing this stuff. And that's what the show's always been about.
Yeah, I mean, we've just always had a good time. Obviously, we've taken a little bit extra time off this year, last couple of weeks, but we're trying. I forgot my Christmas hat. I don't know where the hell it is. So
yeah, I was looking for mine. The Dallas Cowboy one is the only one I have, for crying out loud. Which, Bobby, I got to tell you, you were at a watch party today for football, and I had a dude that reached out to me today, and he's like, it was early in the morning, like 7 a.m. I'm getting ready to do some other stuff, and he's like, I'm footballed out. I'm like, what? You're footballed out? And he said, well, with all the bowl games, it sucked, and whatever the case is in the NFL. I'm like, dude, there has never been an instance where two things where I've been racing or footballed out. Never. And you got Monday Night Football tonight, and you had your bowl game today. You had that, then you had the Potato Bowl that went into overtime, for crying out loud. Are you kidding me? This is a great time, and that's why I like the way that the Saturday rolled into. I know Saturday sucked for you, but the way that everything rolled in, and we're just gonna keep footballing here for a little bit.
I know I kind of forgot on my fantasy lineup there because the football game started when I was busy doing something else. And I got back to the house, flipped on the TV, and I was like, oh, shit, I forgot that fantasy football was on Saturday. So I had to kind of catch back up. Luckily, it didn't hurt me too bad. I only had Travis Kelce playing, who sucked for me all year, and then I had the Chiefs defense. But luckily for me, I still beat Will. So that's all that really mattered for me to get to the finals of fantasy football. So.
Yeah, Willie Joe Namath right there is the man that you beat. But
I feel bad for Will, though. It's kind of shitty that he scored 185 points and still got beat.
I feel bad for me, Bobby, because I put this hell of a charge coming into the end of this thing. I started out, I had like one win. I was like 1-6, and I have this amazing run, and I missed the playoffs.
Oh, because I beat you. Yeah, because I beat you. Yeah.
You beat me by 1/10 of a second in racing terms. So, yeah, I feel bad for me. No, I don't.
I have that screenshot, and I'll text it for you so you can put it up on the show.
God. So the question that we have, and coming up on the show tonight, and again, this is a very relaxed, fun show. We're just we're talking about Festivus. I mean, it's a Festivus Monday is what we're doing. for you folks, and I mean, here we'll pull it up right there, and I think it's on the Facebook thing. If you're a fan, if you're a driver, whatever you are, what do you want to find under that in Santa's bag for yourself, for your racetrack, for your series, whatever the case is? And already we got them coming. There it is, all about the country. I want a racing simulator, dude. So do I. So do I. I would love.
I bet they could. AP Consultations, Tom and him can build you a pretty kick-ass simulator.
He has already told me that he could build this thing with the screens that are in here right now, that he could put my fat ass right here in the middle of this thing, and it could all be right there. But I don't know about that. Our man Bruce Wright checking in from up north, up in the northern parts of Texas. Merry Christmas. And happy birthday, Grandma. Happy birthday to Grandma. Bruce's mom right there. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, right?
98 years young, still kicking.
98 years young, and hey, man, we're gonna pull your comments up right here. What do y'all think about Flow Racing? I love them. And I love Racing America, and I love
them all.
Yeah, and I love Track TV, and I love Race On. I love all of them, because what do? They afford us the chance to get to watch racing when you ain't at the damn racetrack. And a lot of us can't get there. So that's one of those things to where I think that folks really think that depending on what streamer that you may be broadcasting on, or whatever the case is there, that there's bad blood. No, there's not bad blood. We are all doing this for the same what was that High School Musical thing from the Disney Channel? We're all in this together. I'm digging deep, man.
Yeah, you reaching, speaking of Santa's sack, you reaching deep into the bag tonight. Dear Lord.
I am digging deep. And here we go. Our man, Carson Green, checking in right there. My man, Carson Green, with a really good year right there. Our man, Owen Pittman, of course. Fans in the stands. And I think that's super important. Super important for fans in the stands, because talking about Flow and talking about all these other people, the bottom line is we still need to get people at the racetrack, and you need to feel that experience. In my opinion, it's one thing to watch it on TV, and we can talk about cheap beer and the pissers right down the road or right down the hall, but it's really cool to be able to experience stuff in person.
Nothing beats being there live. Now, the streaming is a good aspect. Like if I want to watch Marshalltown Speedway on a Friday night.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty kick-ass for me to do, sit in the living room from the Central Texas headquarters and watch that race. But if I lived in Marshalltown, Iowa, I need to be getting my ass to the racetrack. I don't need to be getting it. I don't need to be getting it from Marshalltown, Iowa. I don't need to be getting it from Flow Racing or whoever the streamer is. If I live there, I need to be there. Now, there are times, yes, you and I both have been, due to logistical challenges of work or schedules or whatever, where we can't be at a certain racetrack locally. We've been able to watch it there on the streamer. Do we like it? Yes, we like the fact that we have it, but no, it does not replace being there in person and experiencing that and seeing all your friends.
Yeah, no doubt. And of course, our man Milton Hope checks in. And again, this is why this show is so interactive, because we're going to talk about what you guys are thinking. If you're on Texas Sports Unfiltered, we got the Coda text line 512-222-9328. We'll take those comments as well. Milton Hope, one of the greats. Bobby right there. Birds up. The Myrtle Beach Bowl. I wish you would have gotten to go to that bowl game, because I love that place. I love Myrtle Beach.
It's beautiful place.
Absolutely.
Beautiful beaches, beautiful water. A little cold today. I think it was like 35 degrees when the game first started, but I really did want to go. Beautiful weather today. Beautiful.
No, at Myrtle Beach, they have beautiful what?
Beautiful beaches and bitches.
Oh,
yeah.
Right there. And see, here's what I'm talking about right here. New All-American Speedway. That is one of the great speed joints that you're going to find. Merry Christmas from New River All-American Speedway in Jacksonville, North Carolina. They're getting after it, and they're checking in tonight. And don't forget, you got their event coming up, the Cars Tour, March 1st, happening right there, and you can catch it on Flow. And we will talk about Flow, and we'll talk about Racing America, and we'll talk about Race On, and we'll talk about all of them, because that's what we're here to do. Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. So anyway, I think the football talk may factor itself in because I think that at some point folks are going to be mentioning things about bowls and all the different things. But it really is kind of what the Christmas show is. What do you want to see from your racetrack or your series? And before Riley Allen's coming on here in just a couple of minutes, we'll bring her right up with us. I saw that today. Here is your brand new UARA schedule of events. Ricky Brooks and the staff right there have gotten their uh, schedule put out, and boom, there you go. It's a very compact. It's a very and the whole thing with Ricky and UARA. I mean, it's going to be. This is all based on winning on money. That's how they crown the champions right there. And they have no doubt hit a home run once again. They're going to start off right there at Cordele. Pardon me while I put on my old man glasses. Start at Cordele. They'll head to the Rattler 250. And then it just kind of rolls on right there. Another good schedule put together there by Ricky and the staff.
Well, I do notice one thing sticking out, and not necessarily in a negative way, because Ricky's a friend of the show, been on here before. I like how he has incorporated multiple races at Cordele. Picking up a very good idea from our friend down at Five Fact Speedway with Tim Bryant and the Southern Super Series. So if you're going to have races run at your track, make it its own individual point series. It works for Five Flags. It works for the Southern Super Series. It works for the ASA National Tour down there in Pensacola. So why not do it over there in Cordele? It looks like that's what he's done. Starts out with the Superfest 125, multiples of those, and then hell of a way to kick off or crown it at the end with the World Crown 300. So good job.
And I have to tell you, I mean, kind of to piggyback off of what you're talking about right there, Bobby, is I think that's super important because I think as cool as the weekend was on the racing side and football and sports and all that one of the things that we saw this weekend, I mean, Irwindale is done. They had the final event there.
Packed that place too.
Oh man! And I said, yeah, I saw some stuff on X. As soon as that was done, they're digging up pavement. And it's like that's what you don't want to have. So if you have a racetrack and like Ricky right there running Cordele, I mean, get out there, showcase your place, and have these big races. And I think that's something really cool that he's doing right there. And congratulations there to him for another great season. It's going to be a really good season as those schedules begin to trickle out. And I think that this year it's kind of been here in our area that they've kind of come out a little bit slower. It seems like maybe they're going to be a little more cohesive working together. You think that's what it is?
Not very doubtful.
Yeah,
I think it's
figure
just
out a way to outdo each other.
Yeah. Very, very, very doubtful. Hey, did you realize we're up to 250 subscribers on the Revved YouTube page?
That's it.
That's it. But that's better than what we had. We had exactly right at 250.
Yeah, well, that's one of those things.
It's halfway to where we want to be, but
I know. I wish that thing would grow. And you guys, if you hit revvedupsportshow.tv, that's going to take you right to that. So please subscribe and share that. And somebody was telling me one day, wow, hell, you want to make money? No, I don't. I want that to, we want that to grow.
Hell, I want it to break even.
Yeah, well, it expands the brand. It expands everything. And I've had a lot of folks that reach out and it's like, I love what you guys do because you just kind of tell it like it is. And I know a lot of people try to tell it like it is now, but we just kind of do it in our own special way.
The show that started it all.
Boom. And of course, Terry Barden's going to join us later on. I've got a natty light right here sitting for Terry Barden when he jumps on, because that's my partner right there in crime when it comes to that. But before that, let's dive in because we're going to do a little bit of the old with old man Terry Barden. And then we're going to do a little bit of the young because it's all about the young drivers and showcasing them. And we welcome in from right down the road from me, right down 183, Liberty Hill, Texas. Welcome to the Revved Up Sports Show, our friend Riley Allen. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing good. How are you?
They're doing well. So are you guys ready for Christmas? Is everything set? Is all of that done? Because that's the panic right now, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We have like, I don't even know, 5 days until the Tulsa shootout.
Oh! Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about. See, that's a racer right there, Bobby. Who cares about Christmas? Tulsa shootouts coming up.
I mean, the priorities are in order. I mean, that's a good thing, right? You're worried about what Santa's going to bring you under the tree. It's like, I need some tire money. I need some travel money. I need some hotel money. You're like, if Santa shows up with a big old bag of money, that'll make it really good for you for Christmas, right, Riley?
Definitely.
Absolutely. So Riley, let's talk about you first. We saw you this year on pavement there in the Legacies at HMP and doing what you were doing there. But kind of walk us through this. It's been a quarter midget career that has been stellar. Is an understatement. Kind of talk about all of this for you, and you're still very young at this point, just getting rolling here. But man, sky's the limit. It seems like for you.
So,
We
I
heard
started
that.
racing quarter midgets in 2014 at 4.5. My dad just kind of threw me in one um, on a random day, and I knew I wanted to do it after that. So, I did that for a while, and then up until last year, I kind of outaged in quarter midgets. So I did it for 10 years, and I had a total of 10 state championships. And I also had 2 Western State National Championships, 3 regional championships, and my best top finish at a NASCAR Youth Series event was 4th.
Damn. Wow.
But it was a great experience. I made so many friends and I went to so many states. I can't even describe how amazing it was. But it really set me up for where I am today.
For sure.
And it gave me a lot more confidence to get into a legacy versus just getting into it without any experience at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, Riley, we know people that race legacies for years because they've been around for, it's a good platform for racing. In terms of the power to weight ratio, how have you been able to adjust from that? Because it definitely doesn't compare to the quarter midget, but the power to weight ratio being a 3/4 scale cup car. I mean, how's your transition been into that? I mean, is it kind of you still trying to get your feet wet, get comfortable with it, or you kind of taking a natural knack to it? Or tell us about that transition from the quarter midget to the legacy.
Honestly, it wasn't too big of a jump for me. I feel like I just kind of got in it and it wasn't really anything new, which is good. And now I'm like really used to it. So I feel like when I need to get into something bigger, then I'm already kind of prepared for it.
Yeah. So Riley, I want to hone into the quarter midget part because I think that that's something to where a lot of folks, a lot of younger folks, they dive into racing and they want to get in a big car and they want to do all these different things, and they get in there. And to me, that's always been these days a system for failure. Kind of talk about that part about moving up through the ranks right there and winning those races and going to different states and doing that part because every state and every tendency is a lot different with different drivers and the way that they do things.
So quarter midgets for me is really how I was able to grow. And in the beginning it was hard, like when I was 5, traveling was really difficult, especially like when I would race against kids I never raced before because they lived in a different state. So
Yep.
I didn't do too good at like the earlier nationals because these kids were like crazy good. But I started racing nationals more often, which gave me more experience. So like last year, I met this family at a race and they asked me to fly out to California to run one of their cars. So I did, and I ended up setting a track record and beating everybody and winning the race for the weekend.
Love
And
it.
then from that day, they asked me to come race a special kind of quarter midget called an AA, which is not popular and they don't really run anymore. But NASCAR Youth Series was kind of watching me at the Winter Nationals to see if I could prove that they could run with this generation's quarter midget. And it was really difficult because I've never been in a quarter midget that had that much power before. So it was a lot different, but I kind of felt like the spotlight was a little bit on me in that moment because I was one of the only people there running that car.
Nice.
So, right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? The fact that you're a young lady racing. Now, it seems like Roddy and I are old guys, right? So we remember back in the day, 20 years ago, you might have had one lady racing per track, right? Now you basically got at least one, if not two ladies racing per class on any given short track Saturday night up into ARCA, Xfinity, and stuff like that. Has there been any pushback from you? Have you felt any like that, being a young female racer like that, or the guys? It's just like you're just another one of the dudes just hanging out, racing and hanging out.
So I feel like I see everyone pretty equally. Honestly, I have a pretty good friend group, so we will joke and tend to be like, "Oh, well, I'm better than you because I'm a dude." But honestly, it's all pretty equal, and I don't really see anyone differently just because I'm a girl and they're a boy, or vice versa.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about that. So Riley, the other part for you, kind of making the move over, when it comes to the legacy class and what you've been doing out there. And by the way, you've got one of the best looking cars. I love that paint scheme. That
Thank
paint scheme to me is like, I'm an old NASCAR guy, so
you.
that one really excites me. So for you with that class, because what I love about that class is that you have the younger, drivers like yourself and several others, and then you have guys like Mike Knotts and all of these different, very experienced folks. I mean, Delilah May, has been in these cars for a long time. Kind of talk about those people because it's a really cool mix of just badass drivers altogether, young and maybe a little bit more veteran.
I think it's really cool that we get to race with all these different like kind of ages, but also Mike Knotts is the reason why I got into Legacy, so I'd like to give a big thanks to him. And I just feel like everyone at the track is really helpful and they're willing to help even if like you're their competitor.
Hmm.
But I just think that we all show the same amount of respect for each other, even though we're all different ages.
Absolutely.
Mike's a character. We've known Mike a long time. If you ever wanted to see the history of Texas racing, try to get him to take you down to the shop down outside of
Probably been there.
Schertz.
You probably been
Have you
there,
been
right?
to his shop down there outside of San Antonio, Riley? It's a
Yeah.
cool. Roddy and I are jealous now because we've been wanting to go down there and look at those old cars. It's like Dale Jr.'s graveyard. He's got race cars that we remember from 30, 40 years ago that's just sitting down there waiting to be raced again. So that we're jealous now. Great. That's a Christmas wish of ours that's not going to happen because she's already burst the bubble and got to go down there. So what's up? What's on tap after that? Are you thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead after a legacy car, or are you just wanting to concentrate on one class at a time? Do you have like a big picture where you're going to be 3, 4 years after you kind of get out of school and all of that?
Well, I'm kind of just going with the flow right now, but I do, like I said, I'm getting ready for the Tulsa shootout. So I also race micros, which I'd like to thank Ashcraft Motorsports for the ride because last summer I got offered the ride to be on his team, and his team is an all girls team. So I think it's really cool that he promotes like all females, and I'm just so glad to be a part of that. But I just want to keep racing my legacy and see where it goes along with the micro and see what I can do. But for 2025, um, we were kind of having some days planned to where I could go test run a high profile truck for maybe to race in 2026.
Wow.
Nice, nice.
Man.
By the way, your race team has been blowing up social media. By the way, we're getting notifications like nonstop on both our phones. If you hear the buzzing, it's because the phones are going off because they're doing all kind of notifications about you joining us this evening. So luckily for us, we now have a an extra reason for people to watch more than normal. So that's a good thing. Um, let's talk about Tulsa Shootout. Underrated event, I think, in terms of how really cool it really is. I think it does get overshadowed a bit by the Chili Bowl, which I guess it should to a certain extent. But I mean, there's no lack of action there at the shootout. I mean, you
No.
guys and gals that are racing in there, y'all go through the alphabet soup, just like the Chili Bowl. Y'all race nose to nose and side to side, wheel to wheel, flipping, flying, all that good stuff. Talk about that Tulsa Shootout. I know you're getting ready for it.
So this is actually my very first Tulsa shootout that I will be racing. So I've been to two of them, but I was only there to watch or to go support friends. But it's over 1,600 cars, so it'll definitely be different. And this is also only my fourth micro race, but I'm willing to just give it everything I got and see what I can do.
Yeah, and the thing is, extended laps. They keep growing this thing out. I mean, it really seems like. So, how do you prepare yourself mentally? I mean, because you got the holidays and everything that's coming on, but like you did right here, you come onto the show and you're talking about the shootout. I'm talking about Christmas. You're like, I don't care about that. How do you prepare yourself mentally to dive into this? This is a huge stage, Riley, that you're about to dive into.
Well, I try to get as much sim time as I can just to like, try to get the track in my mind as much as I can. But I also just kind of tell myself to relax because I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm not super nervous about it. And I think it'll just be a really good experience for the next year's Tulsa shootout.
Mhm.
But I think that I just have to keep in mind that for now it's just an experience and it won't be the end of the world if I don't do that great because it is my first Tulsa shootout.
Absolutely.
We need her on the show more often.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not that great if you don't. Yeah, it's not that bad if you don't do that great. That's what we needed. That's what we
yeah,
need.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We need that optimism here.
Yeah.
So what's your daily life like? I mean, are you just like a
Yeah.
normal teenage girl, or you're worried about prom and football and homecoming and all that? Or are you just all about the race cars?
I do high school football. So what's Liberty Hill? I don't know what.
They
The Liberty Hill Panthers.
Yeah, the Panthers. But I don't know if you guys have everybody has the little.
Oh,
thing.
it's like this.
Oh, it's like that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Well, I went to homecoming, but it was kind of lame. So I'm kind of glad that the last 2 years I went racing instead of went to homecoming. But there wasn't a race this year on homecoming, so I decided to go. But honestly, I didn't miss much. But a day in my life, really, I just run my sim or I try to get as much exercise as I can so I can stay like pretty in shape during off season.
Yeah. Yeah.
But other
So
than that, I am just a regular teenage girl.
well, no, not quite. Not quite. I raised 2 teenage girls, and this was the last thing that they would have done. So no. So with that, I mean, with that part right there, with the dirt stuff and the quarter midget, and now the legacy. Is there one of these? And we always ask drivers that do different disciplines. Is there one of them that tailors better to your style? I personally think after the fact, starting on dirt, then going to the asphalt, I think that's better. Is there one of them? Do you get in the legacy and you're like, are you bored in that car? I mean, how does that all work out for you?
I'll definitely say that ever since starting dirt, the legacy has been like way easier.
Yeah.
Because in dirt, you're like a lot more up on the wheel, and you're like going through the corners, and then in the legacy, you're kind of just going on a Sunday drive. But it kind of gives me that advantage to where I don't get as like nervous, I guess, because I know it's not gonna take as much like I guess my abilities to run the car because it's just a lot easier than dirt in my opinion.
Mhm.
Oh, she laid down the gauntlet there. Now, oh boy, social media is going to be on fire now. Oh, no.
As an old asphalt guy, it's like there's the knife right into my heart. But I get it. But I totally get that. I totally get what you're saying. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. What she said.
Also 10 years of family, yes.
That's right. So what all you got behind you over there? Is that all of the accolades and state championships and awards? And do you have your own little space over there where you've got the Riley Allen montage behind you at a very young age?
Yeah, these are trophies from 2015 on. I mean, these aren't even half of them. Most of them are in the attic. But this is kind of my side. My sister's side's over there. She used to run Legacy back in 2017. And I don't remember much, honestly, because I was like 9. But yeah, these trophies, they mean a lot to me, especially the state championships or the regional championships or the national championships.
Absolutely.
That's right. She's having to like recount championships. Yeah. Riley and I hate that problem. We're like, oh, well, let's see. Wait, no, that one got, oh, wait, there was a rookie of the year once.
I've got my little feature race trophies over here. On the side. Mine never get lost, Riley. I never lose them. I know exactly where they are because they are few and far between.
Mine all broke. All my trophies broke. That's how good mine were.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, like I had like a second place championship trophy. Like I took it home, set it on the shelf, and within like 2 days it fell apart. I'm like, oh man.
Oh.
So I never got around to fixing it though, because I wanted to cheat. I was gonna make it taller, be as tall as the championship trophy, but I decided not to, because that wouldn't be fair. Speaking of fair, talk about the next challenge with the micro sprints. We've seen a lot of those over the years. Roddy and I've got to announce a couple of them, especially down at like Texana, where they come to run a little bit. It's almost like the track's just a tick too big, maybe. for the micros. But talk about that, the different experience levels that you have to have with the micro. I know you hadn't run it a whole lot, but are there certain tracks like on a schedule that's popping up? You're like, hey, I can't wait to get there because that one's going to be fun, going to be elbows up, ready to roll. You have any of those picked out on the calendar in 2025 yet?
Well, I definitely want to go to some of the Now 600 Nationals, but a track in particular that I really want to go in Kansas. I've been there a few times to watch my friends race, but it just looks like such a fun track, and I know next year I'll get to go race there. I'm going to go there and see what it's all about.
Yeah, no doubt. Last one for me, Riley. Was there a time with all the quarter midget stuff, with all the success and everything that you had right there? You talked about you outgrew that part. Was there ever a point where you're like, I'm about to outgrow this? Sorry, we're very real on this show. I'm about to outgrow this shit. It's time to move on. Were you counting the days for that to get to the point that you're at right now?
Honestly, no.
Good. I love that. That's super cool. That is super cool. Yeah, she kind of flipped on us there a little.
I know she's a little sideways. That's all right. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah.
It makes for an interesting view. So
right.
Riley, one of the things that we like is we like to showcase up and coming talent like yourself and the next generation of racers that are coming behind Rodney and I. What's your advice to whether it be the little girl, little boy, 5, 6 years old, trying to pop into a quarter midget for the first time? What would you tell them if you're leading into the window on their very first race and they're shaking, their hands are shaking because they're scared or they're spooked? I mean, what do you tell them? You tell them just relax. What do you tell them? What do you tell them kids that from your experience?
I would just say that once you get over that little line of fear, then you're going to realize how fun it is and you're going to want to do it as long as you can, like me, a whole 10 years. But as long as you just finally conquer that fear of finally getting out on the track, and when the green flag drops and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going so fast. And then when it's all over, you realize how fun it was, then that's how you know you're going to want to do it for a really long time. So
Yeah.
the only thing you got to do is just get in the car and just do it.
Nice.
I like it. We need to clip that and play that. That's right.
Well said. We asked some of the older drivers that, and they're like, I don't know, just get out there and stand on it. No. That's not the best advice. That is not the best advice. Riley, it has been super cool talking to you. This has been a joy. You're right in Liberty Hill. You're right in our Fairburg right here. I think we need to do this more often, maybe a check-in after the Tulsa shootout. And thank you for diving in here with us. And enjoy that holiday, even though it's going to be really, really short.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate having the opportunity to come on here.
Hey, Riley, you mentioned your race team right there. Any other folks that you want to shout out? Because I know that's super important.
I definitely want to thank my parents because without them, I definitely would not be here. Dexter Thompson, Chris Quilty, he's like a really big help for me at the Legacy track.
Mm-hmm.
Ashcraft Motorsports as my #1 sponsor, and all my team members, Memory Ashcraft, Emma Smith, and Peyton Geitzenauer. Keith Zimmerman and Cody Jessup for their help last year in the quarter midgets and really giving me a great last season in quarter midgets.
Yeah, super cool. Super cool. All right, girl, go get them. We'll be following along, and open phone here anytime. Jump on with us.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Take care. You bet. There she goes, Riley Allen. Boy, that girl, she's got the media part down. Absolutely has the media part down.
Yeah, right. I mean, next thing you know, we'll be seeing TikTok shorts of us on there, and she's gonna clip the video and be like, "Hey, these morons asked me this stupid question," right? Like that's what's gonna be. That's gonna be the hashtag at the bottom.
Yeah. She's gonna be like, I talked to these old ass guys right down the road in Texas, and no, but she, with them moving in right there, and that's a whole thing. I do want to shout out because she mentioned Mike Knotts, when we talk about the Legacy Series and everything that the class with that. And Mike Knotts, I mean, that is a dude that is so instrumental right there. And Mike Knotts, I mean, he puts people in his cars and he lets them learn. And man, he has launched another great career right here. We're going to be hearing about her for a lot of years, I think, moving forward.
Yeah, I know he keeps, I never did get in his car again this year, even though I said I would. But definitely he put somebody else in there that ends up doing a lot better than I would have with Riley. So that's that worked out even better for me because I wouldn't get embarrassed being shown up by her. So
he's got Riley, he's got Megatron in his race cars. I mean, this guy. I mean, he's got Cowboy Bill. I mean, this guy finds drivers to put in those.
Which one did he put her in?
I think she drove that 8 car. I think she drove the 8 car there. The one that I think Cowboy took over. Cowboy, I don't remember if his name is Cowboy or what it is, but there she is right there. And that's one of the pictures that I wanted to keep pulling up right there. And again, it's always so cool when we're able to have them, have the guests on video. But look at that right there. That's a look of intensity right there. And here it is, Rowdy Bill. It is Rowdy Bill that drives that car. Rowdy Bill getting out there in that 8 car.
At one time, I think he wanted to throw me in the 5 car one time or the 26. I don't remember which one it was. It's all right. It's probably better off those other people are driving it better than me. So
I was going to drive. I think it was one of Delilah's car. I think I was supposed to drive the 3 car. I think it was, and it just so happened that weekend that I was supposed to drive it. I think that Hannah B. Miss Baker was going to drive a car as well. She got out there, and then there were problems. I couldn't drive the car anyway. I couldn't get there on time. I had a Texas commitment, so that didn't work out, which is probably a good thing because it's like I'm comfortable doing this. I'll call the races. I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, I don't think I want to drive anymore. It's hot. I'm fat. I don't fit in those cars anymore. It's like, I just think I want to do this part. I'm just enjoying this part at this point.
Well, I mean, it is a little easier. More, I would say more AC, but you like announcing from outside, so
yeah, my dumbass stays outside. Before we dive into our next guest, I was talking to somebody today. I've actually heard from about 4 people that were out there. Rowdy Bill Smith. Thank you. Rowdy Bill Smith is the driver of the 8 car. That they were talking about trying to go out and get last minute Christmas gifts or maybe something that they could get for the holidays, after the fact or whatever the case may be. Well, I'm here to tell you, friends, all you have to do is right there at the top of the show that you are watching right now, the Revved Up Livecast. If you hit that little QR code that's up at the top of the screen on the left-hand side where I'm looking at, if you hit that, it's going to take you to the On-Demand Shirts Revved Up Sports Show store. You can get them gear like Bobby and I are wearing. Get them a cap, get them a hoodie, all of that. What a better gift. I always say, if you really love someone or seriously dislike them, get them some Revved Up gear right there from On Demand Shirts.
That's right. Whether you love them or hate them, they're going to look good in Revved Up gear.
That's right. Exactly. So there's time right there. If you're in Texas, they're over in San Antonio. They're right there in that area. The shipping is fast. They'll get it right to you. What a better gift. Not a better gift.
And James Cole, friend of the show, proud new promoter of the South Texas IMCA Modified Series.
That's right. That's right. And I talked to, I messaged with James a couple of times in the last couple of days, and I wanted to see if he would want to come on and talk about stems. And he said, you know what? Let's do that in January or February because there's more coming. There's a lot more coming. I'd rather do it then and announce all those big things on y'all show.
Oh, that's good. That's what the show's for.
I'm glad somebody's utilizing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's coming up. And you guys, as we've always said, I mean, we always mention it. You take the invite, but if you've got your schedule that you want to release, hold on to it. Hold on to it. Don't get trigger happy. And release it right here on the Revved Up Sports Show.
Yeah, no, I got to talk to Monty. Apparently, Texana's got a huge news breaker there on the. Are we going to do a show on the 6th? I don't know. Monday Night Raw debuts on Netflix. I'm interested to see how that's going to shake out. But I guess we still got to do the show here, don't we?
What's Monday Night Raw?
That's that WWE thing you used to watch before you. Yeah, the wrestling thing before you got into Monday Night Football again. It's that thing you watch when Monday Night Football is not on.
I don't watch it. I go back and I watch WCW and all those things. I don't watch that stuff anymore. But yeah, I mean, we'll have that schedule coming out for you guys. College football is going to factor into some of the things that we do. But before Terry Barden comes on, I found we talk about keyboard racers and all that. And again, if you guys we're serious, the Santa bag of what you want for your drivers, for your whatever, tell us, what do you want for your track? What do you want for your series? We talk about keyboard warriors all the time on this program, and we always like to pull this thing up because the keyboard seems to be at times something that can really, really hurt racing. I found this quote from the great Nick Saban from this weekend. Take a listen to this.
Why do you care about what some guy puts on the internet who's a fat guy in his...
Right?
He's been a godsend to game day, by the way.
Great. He's been great.
Like he's been like I mean, he is all business, but yet as he's come through towards the middle part of the season, I think it's because he's sitting next to McAfee. He doesn't have a choice but to kind of loosen up a little bit. But he's been his insight. He's been spot on. He's been dead on. That was a great get by ESPN to get to Nick Saban right out of the coaching box.
Yeah,
and he ain't going back anytime soon. He's not a fan of NIL. So he's more of a fan of developing players than paying players. So
then you had that clown that was on there, and that's the problem that I have with game day and some of these pregame shows and stuff that they do, to where it's like when they want to bring people in. And again, I'm about X's and O's. I sit and watch film. I sit here in the Texas game. I've watched it three times since it. Well, 3 total, obviously, so 2 other times sitting there watching this and just kind of breaking film down. I have been programmed and honed to break down film. I still talk to high school coaches. They're like, go back and watch this part of the game and break this down for me. So when they bring in like these comedians and all these guys, I'm like, man, I don't want that. I mean, give me Saban, give me Mac Brown. Now that Mac Brown's got some time on his hands, bring that dude back in here. Let's break down football. And I saw one of those comedians trying to get at Nick a little bit. Nick pretty much gave him the old. With some of those comments that
yeah, but Miss Terry kicked her ass in that pick in those picking challenges, the guest picker. So
she always does. I mean, that's the success of Alabama football right there. All right, let's go diving back in. We talked about Riley Allen right there, one of the great up-and-comers. She'll be at the Tulsa Shootout, and we'll break some of that down. Obviously, Chili Bowl. I'm going to be at the Chili Bowl, so we'll kind of get some stuff put together for you. But we kind of thought that with the holiday here, it would be a really good time to get in here and let's talk some old school racing, maybe tell some stories. And there is not a favorite person that I love to talk racing with. And maybe Terry, I got it, buddy. There it is,
buddy. Right there with you.
It is our man Terry Barden. Terry, are you guys ready for Christmas and the New Year holiday coming up, my friend?
I hope so. I leave that all up to my wife. I have to work for a living. I leave all that up to her, man. Just whatever she says is what we do.
That's what I'm saying.
That's one of those Christmases where Terry's just as surprised as the grandkids. Oh, no shit. That's what you got. How about that? Good job.
Yeah, that's just what I wanted. Just what I wanted.
Right. So Terry, I sent you over a couple of things, and it's one of those things. I don't often prep people for what I want to talk about, but just I sent you over a couple of things that I just wanted to talk about because I know with the folks that we have that are a part of this program. Tell me one of your best, because I didn't really know this until I got to know you more and more and drinking these natty lights. Give me your best Waldo Harper story, because you're a San Antonio guy. This is one of the ultimate Austin guys. Waldo Harper, to me, I mean, that was part of my childhood that I'm like, I didn't know that we had this connection, and it seems to make sense more and more every time we talk. Give me your best Waldo Harper story.
Oh, man, the best ones I can't tell on air. That's for a late night deal. Some of the stuff he got me into. But, I would have to say that one of my favorites was Waldo bought one of Dick Anderson's cars out of Florida.
Yep.
And it was fast. And Jimmy Finger was driving Don Beerswald's cars. Those pretty red, white, and blue cars that Don had at the time. And they blew an engine. And he came over and they were running for points. We didn't run for points. We ran when you ran for Waldo, you begged you weren't going to get tore down because you never knew what was in the car.
Yeah.
That was Waldo. He would like to try to put something on somebody real quick. But this one particular time, they blew an engine. Jimmy came over and said, "Hey man, we're running for points. Can I drive the car?" And this car, it wasn't the prettiest car there. In fact, unlike a car that Waldo had, it was beat up from racing Austin on Friday nights, San Antonio on Saturday. And Jimmy went out and won the main event. And he went over and told Don Beardwall, "You need to buy that car. That's the best car that I've ever sat in." It was a Bop chassis, which nobody here had heard about Glenn Bop back then. Nick Anderson was winning everything in Florida at the time. So he came back over. They blew an engine the following week. And he came over and wanted to drive the car. Well, this happened 3 weeks in a row. On the third week, Waldo told Jimmy, he says, if you want to drive that car, you tell Don it's going to be his car before he drives it. And he said, "Well, what do you want for it?" He says, "I'll take $10,000 cash for it."
Nice.
He went over and $10,000 back then was a lot of money for one of the cars. But this one was race ready. I mean, it already won the last two main events. And he went over to Don and told Don. Don walked back over and told him, "Waldo, I've got $8,000 cash in my pocket. I'll give it to you for that car." Waldo looked at him and said, "Don, if you had $9,999.99 in your pocket, you'd have to borrow a penny to go buy this car." I told him, I said, "Man, the guy's got $8,000 cash." Well,
sell it.
About 20 minutes later, Don came over. He said, "Here's your money." And we set in Waldo's record and we counted the money. And he said, "Okay, the car's yours." Now he told him, said, "Well, you just sold the best car here. What are you going to do now?" He said, "I'm going to go buy one better." 3 weeks later, we showed up at the racetrack with Tommy Davis and Rusty Wallace's ASA car.
Oh,
and if you remember the car, he kicked their ass in that car. He unloaded the car. He blew an engine in Austin on Friday night. Tommy did. No, they didn't. I'm sorry, wrecked the car. And Waldo called me and said, "Hey, Tommy Davis is going to drive the car in San Antonio. Can you help him put the motor and everything in?" So I drove to Austin. We worked all night, showed up at the racetrack. Back then you had to qualify. Every car went out and qualified to where you lined up. It wasn't heat races. It wasn't by points. You qualified. You had to qualify to race. Tommy unloaded. Remember the Chevrolet truck that had the hauler you had on the back of it? Brand new Goodyears on it and set a track record. Never been in the car before. Didn't have one lap of practice and set the track record in the car. Don Beardwall was hot. And he come over and told Waldo, "I don't think that car is legal." He said, "That car is just a better car than the one you got right now." He said, "Do you want to buy this one?" And Don just turned around and walked off. He didn't want to hear it.
That is awesome. I love that. That is Waldo Harper right there. Absolutely. Yeah.
You're right.
I think we lost Terry. I think he's dropping there right there. It's like, man.
Yeah, no, my cast is spinning. Hopefully you still got me.
Oh yeah. I got you and had him there, but he kind of froze up. So I think Terry, if you happen to hear this, if you can go in there, maybe leave the video off. Maybe leave the video off. Maybe that was what was kind of freezing that up. So we'll try them again right here. Boom. Let's try it again. We got you, Terry.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm on my phone and I couldn't make for some reason my laptop wouldn't pick it up. What you wanted me to do? So
totally good. Sorry, Bobby. Go ahead, my man.
Oh no, that's right. I'm just having my Firefox just crashed, but that's fine.
Oh, is yours too?
Yeah, Firefox just decided to crash right here. Well, that's on the little laptop, so that's good. Not the main streamer, so that's good. Terry, back in the day, I mean, obviously you were racing against these guys, but who? I guess we've heard the legends of Freddie and Waldo and Jimmy Finger and Hubert Bean. Some of those guys. Who was the badass back then? I mean, was there more than one? Was there an elite guy, or were they all just kick ass back then?
They all were, to be honest with you. When the track first opened at San Antonio, the guy that come in there and kicked their ass was John Foster. He came in there and he just kicked their ass. But the main guy was Freddie Fryer.
Yep, absolutely. And that was the thing, Terry.
Am I losing you?
No, we got you.
We're just listening now. Yeah.
Okay, when Freddie showed up, everybody was going to run second. I'll tell you, talk about Freddie and Waldo. Freddie came down and something happened to the car and he got in Waldo's car. Now, Waldo was old. Waldo was old when I met him when I got to start racing with him in 1974. And this was going into the 80s. Freddie got in the car and he kicked their ass at San Antonio in the car. He almost lapped the second place car. And he told Waldo, if I ever get used to the power steering, we can be fast in this car.
Mm-hmm.
But Freddie, one night, we took all the weight out of the car. We were going to Louisiana. And Freddie, we took all the weight out of the car. And Waldo was bumping Freddie. And nobody does that at San Antonio. They had a red flag, and Freddie got out of the car. I went over and took Waldo some water. And he's telling him, hey, God damn it, you know that you're cheating.
Yeah.
Leave me alone, stay off of me, let me go. I didn't buy tires tonight. And Waldo said, well, if I'm cheating, then let me just go home. He said, no, you just never know if you are or not. I just don't know. And he went back and got the car. Mm-hmm. And Waldo shut it down because we were going to Louisiana. The car was not legal by any means. And after the race was over, we drove all the way to Shreveport, Louisiana, and raced that Sunday.
Oh man, those good times right there, man.
They were. But Freddie, I'd have to say, when Freddie showed up, Freddie was the man to beat San Antonio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Austin and everywhere else, Corpus. I mean, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. When Freddie first started racing over here, Freddie was originally from Tennessee, and Freddie had everything he brought over here was 5 to 7 years ahead of everything anybody else had. He was running Banjo Matthews cars, and we were all running home built cars. Yeah. So everything he had was just a lot better than what we had. And a funny story about Don Beardwald and Freddie Fryer at Meyer Speedway in Houston. He used to run double main events, and Don and Jimmy Finger was driving for Don, and he said that 14 car is illegal. I'm telling you, it's illegal. And so after the first main event, Beardwald walked over with a pocket full of money that protested that 14 car, and he had a list of what he wanted to protest. But they started the main event. Freddie started last. He passed everybody. He slowed down. He passed about half of them again, and he shut the car off and come into the pits. And his son-in-law was actually the crew chief of the car, and told him, said, "What are you doing? You didn't stay out." He said, "I'm going to make a lot more money when y'all tear this car down from him than I am when y'all from winning this race. Go ahead and start tearing it down." And of course, the car was legal. I mean, it was just a lot better car, and Freddie was Freddie.
Yeah, that's right. He was just that good. I mean, he was just that good. Terry, I do want to kind of ask you and get.
He was that good everywhere he went.
Yeah, absolutely. Terry, in your time, I mean, the time there with Waldo and everything that you did, I mean, you behind the wheel to me, because when my dad got into racing in San Antonio, he didn't start in Austin. He's like, I'm going to the big track. So he goes over there and dives in street stocks, and that class was just unbelievable at the time. But you guys were the class right above him. Let's talk about those days at San Antonio. We talk about Texas Classics and all these different things, but yourself and Beaver Stelzig and Gary Chappell, Irvin, I mean, the Opiellas, all of these guys in those days of super stocks and then late model stock, once another class fell off. Talk about those days, Terry, because that was some of the baddest ass racing that we'll never get to see again. That will never be duplicated anywhere else, what you guys did.
And, you know, it's a shame, Rodney. Those cars, we were running 67, 68 Chevelles, 70 Chevelles. There were Camaros. Bentley run the Camaros. Revved. There were so many guys that ran them, but we all ran those cars, and it was so much fun. And those cars, there was no such thing as power steering in those cars. And we eventually we got to the 10-inch tires, but we ran the 8-inch tires forever, and it was just so much fun. Gary Chappell, those guys, you know, one thing, and I say this in the drivers meeting at HMP, I think one of the things that taught us, and Rodney, you and I talked about it, the respect that I don't think, in fact, I know it's not on the real short tracks of racing anymore. The respect. You go run one of the half miles, you drove everybody as clean as possible, but you wanted to beat them. And there was bumping. I'm not going to lie to you. We bumped. We spun somebody out. But we did not wreck the cars like they do nowadays, because you could hurt somebody at San Antonio. And I think you know, in our cars, and a lot of the stuff then, we all worked on our cars. Chappell, Revved, they own junkyards, or salvage yards, I guess we call them nowadays. And we all worked on our cars. We worked on them day and night, and we just didn't show up and get in a car and drive it. It was a lot of fun back then. It was great running with those guys, and we had so much fun. It was like, it was one of those deals where you go out there and you beat on each other, you get out of the car, you say a couple of words, then you go over and see who's got more beer after you ran out. And you just sit around there until they come around there and told you had to leave. But we had so much respect for one another. Beaver, when Beaver was coming up, Irvin Brighton was one of the best out there.
Tommy Grimes shows up.
Tommy Grimes run 4-cylinders for a long time. That's how he got started. Then he came into the super stock class with us, and we all, we just learned to race each other, and then we had so much fun. It was. I want to almost say we were like a club. To be honest with you, there were nights that I had Gary Chappell's car in my shop. There was nights that we'd get off work and somebody was having a hard time getting their car ready. We'd go and work on their car. It wasn't an animosity anywhere with us. We wanted to go, and the more cars, the more fun it was.
Yeah.
And back then, you qualified, like I told you earlier, you qualified every Saturday night. Now, when they got away from that and they went to points, they split you up to where you had your high points in one heat, your low points in another one, but you started by your point average even in the main event. And Rodney, from coming over and racing when your dad raced, it was nothing for us to start 30 cars. Yeah. And the high point guys were in the back. Mm-hmm. And it made racing fun. Oh man, that was fun coming from the back. Oh, yeah. It was a lot of fun.
No doubt.
I know, I went blank listening to Terry go on and on. I know, but you got the great stories. It's all right. It's okay. So when you talk about the camaraderie back then, and the respect for one another that we don't obviously see a lot of today. You see a little bit of it, but not near as much as back in the day. When you talk about the miles and miles, it was not that close to go all the way to Louisiana to race. It was not that close to go to Mississippi to race. But you saw guys like Freddie and some of those other guys, they would go that far to race. Was the money to win ratio better than it is now? I mean, the gas was a hell of a lot cheaper. Parts were a little easier to get out of a junkyard. What made those guys travel so much back then as compared to what they don't do now?
I think the economy has a lot to do with it nowadays, to be honest, Rodney. But we would travel, of course. Now, back when we were racing, believe it or not, there was an asphalt track in Amarillo. There was an asphalt track in Lubbock.
Yep. And
on Labor Day weekend, they would run both racetracks, and you went up and you ran. We're running what we call super late models, and they're only paying $1,000 to win.
Yeah,
back then, but gas was cheaper. Racing fuel. Racing fuel now is $12, $13 a gallon. Good racing fuel back then, we paid $4 or $5 a gallon, and we thought that was a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And we would go race Amarillo and Lubbock with Waldo's car when we had Glenn Schwabe driving for us. Oh. And we ended up where you would win. It was $1,000 to win each race, and if you high point guy between them, got another $1,500. So you could go up and make $3,500, $2,500, $3,500, and that was a lot of money back then to go race.
Yeah,
it really was. And tires. I don't even for the slicks like it no.
Yeah, Terry, I remember back in the day, but when somebody would buy me a jug of fuel, it's like, man, they just spent $25 on me for 5 gallons of gas, and it's like, damn, that's quite the investment. So let right. And then they buy the jug too, and it's like, holy shit, $50. Somebody just gave me $50 to get out there and drive. So let's talk about now. And again, holiday edition here. We don't want to keep you too long. And I know you've got things. And again, we need to do a total unfiltered one of these things, or we just go 3 hours like we usually do at the hotel. But anyway,
I don't know if anybody can sit through that long.
So now, Terry, let's obviously in Texas here where we are, there is a deficiency of asphalt racing. I mean, that's the best way that I can say it. Dirt is doing well. I think Dirt is about to get into some growing pains to where they're about to do what we've done with there's too many classes, there's too many divisions that are all alike and all of that. But that's a different story. But so your thought here now, Houston, once again, the dates are out, all of that. The thoughts on the season coming up, because I think this is a big year. I say that every year, but I think now you've got some momentum. You've got some of the little classes that we talk about. We just had Riley Allen on here with the legacies, quarter midgets showing up and doing these things. Legends are back, but damn, we ain't got no trucks. We ain't got no outlaws, and the modifieds ain't coming either. Kind of your thoughts on 2025. How do we get them to show up and race there?
That's a good question. I've been asking that for the last 2 years. I kind of understand when Houston first reopened, a lot of hesitation. Hey man, is this going to be a 3-race deal? We're going to go spend all this money to get our cars out of the weeds and get them running, because it's going to take money to even get the cars that are sitting to where they're ready to go race again. We all know that. You got to freshen the motor. All that. But now that we're into the 3rd year of this, and in my opinion, my personal opinion, you've got one of the best people behind this in Owen Pittman. Mm-hmm. When I don't think that anybody can say that they, and I worked with Owen back in the Romco days when Owen was running CC Speedway. I worked with him then with Romco. anything Owen told me was what it was going to be.
Mhm.
And that's the way it's been since he's done this, since he took over. And for the way that people back Owen in the dirt, why they can't believe that he's for real in this asphalt. He last year that he was in for it for the long haul. Even with the health problems that he had, he was in this for the long haul, and he wanted to see asphalt racing come back. Yes, he loves dirt. He loves what he does down in Corpus, but he's really, really working his ass off to get this asphalt thing going. And why some of these other people don't get out? I don't have the answer why they're not here. He's paying good money to win for these cars, better than a lot of racetracks do on a bi-weekly race. And why they're not showing up, I have no idea. You know, I talk to guys all the time. I talk to them all the time. Oh man, I'm trying, but you know, it's just, you know, a lot of different excuses. But you know, I've always said until you count them, you can't believe they're going to be there. But I don't have an answer why they're not here. I know economy, but I'm hoping that now things are going to change with the economy. I think it's going to get better, and I think that you guys out there that are asphalt like I am, I am 100% asphalt. I did 2 races dirt, was not my deal. I'm 100% asphalt. I love to go watch them, but asphalt's my deal, and I don't know why the people that don't go run dirt, but they've got the cars, don't come out and support it.
Mhm.
I don't understand it.
Yep.
So Terry, what's the fundamental change from back in the day till now? I mean, is it we talked about the respect factor a little bit, but like, is it because the guys, the majority of them are younger now and don't work on their cars as much and don't build their cars? I mean, is there one thing? I mean, and we don't want to downplay the ability of these new kids that show up and race and have the ability to just show up with a helmet and you know, post on social media and get in the car and race versus back in the day when we didn't have social media and you didn't have a choice but to work on your own ride. What's that fundamental shift been like? Is that what it is? Is it a generational thing, you think?
You know, Rodney, one of the things I think, and I hear this all over, is that this younger generation now, unless I think unless they've been exposed to racing,
Yeah.
unless they've been exposed to even their grandfathers who have sat and watched NASCAR, or their grandfathers. You know, I'll give you Colt James's
Oh yeah. Case. Yeah.
case. That boy, all he's ever known is racing because everybody in the family's raced.
Mhm.
The casual guy that's a NASCAR fan that's watched it on TV, his kids, they don't go to a racetrack. They don't get to experience what it's like. And I can tell you from my experience when I was a kid, when I was 6 years old, man, and I went to my first circle track race, I was hooked.
Yep.
At 6 years old. And I just think there's so much other things going on now. These kids have so much more social media. They've got so much more video games that they do. There's so much more into anything but racing because they never have experience. I know that some people that showed up in Houston. I'm going to give you a good example. And I work with a lady who went to a quarter midget race just to watch. She had some friends that were quarter midget racing, and she went with them. And now they're buying a quarter midget
Mm-hmm.
because the son got hooked on it. He had never seen it before, didn't know what it was about until he went and looked at it, and now he's hooked. And I think unless we get this younger generation out, they're not ever going to experience what it is. You know, if you watch it, you're hooked, man. I think.
Yes. It really is one of those things, Terry, to where I think that, folks joke around about the blood thing, but I vividly remember the first time I sat in Jake Wallace's race car and went over and saw Schwabe's car, because Schwabe was my guy and Waldo's 88. Going over to see that and going to see Tommy Davis and going to talk to these guys, and then with street stock guys, there are guys, people, when I start talking about racing people from back in the day, it's like, why do you remember Ken Leathers that raced the street stock at Austin, or all these different names? It's like, you know why? Because when I'd go up there, they sign. I would walk up and they would just sit there and sign my program, and
Right.
they would tell me about their race, and I didn't give a shit, Terry, if they raced first or 30th. I'm talking to a fucking race car driver.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's where now that has kind of disappeared, and that kids aren't fascinated with cars anymore. I mean, it's I think that's something that has kind of vastly taken away from what we do. Oh, damn. I think we lost him.
Oh, man.
I think we lost him.
Well, he's getting good.
I know. He kind of dropped right there, but anyway, great conversation right there. But that really is the thing, Bobby, because you and I, and again, that was one of the things that, you obviously with this weekend, with everything that you have just been through. We can talk about that. We are kids that grew up at the racetrack, whether it be eating nachos and kicking the can under the thing, going to the pits and buying programs and finding the first girl that you thought was cute or whatever the hell the case was. Marianne Nauman's daughter, Kimberly, was the first girl that I was ever like, holy shit, look at this girl. And that was at Speedorama. I think that's what's different nowadays, is that, they just don't feel it like we used to.
I think it's just an exposure thing. Back in the day, think about Austin, right? We've been talking a lot about San Antonio. Back in the day, there was so much less shit to do in Austin.
I know.
It was keep Austin weird. You had 6th Street and you had South Congress. And that was, there was dive bars everywhere else, but that was about it. There wasn't a lot of stuff to do. And then back in the day, the Cedar Whackers, with all due respect, that lived in Bastrop and Red Rock and all that places, Lockhart.
Yep.
San Marcos, all the place. They didn't have anything else to do either on a Saturday night except build a racetrack, build a race car, and go shoot shit and hang out with their friends from April or May until September, right? Every weekend. So I think it's one of the things I was going to ask Terry was just the fact that, back in the day, there just wasn't as much stuff to do back then. That's why COVID was such a refreshing. I don't want to say it made racing relevant again, but it kind of did to a certain extent, because it was the only thing they were letting people do, because it was outside. There wasn't shit on TV. It was all, you had to go outside, and, these local racetracks were racing. I remember going down to Texana to help out Owen, and we'd have the biggest counts ever. And we'd have record number of people in the pits, had record number of people in the grandstands, because there wasn't anything else to do. It's like you went back 35 years.
Yeah.
To everybody just hanging out, getting together, shooting the breeze, having a good time at a racetrack, and it's dropped off since then, because now the phone business has picked back up. The TikToks are back alive. You've got all that stuff again. There's more stuff to do on a Saturday night in your local short track community. So, but the other part too, Dan Fredrickson nailed it. Did you see that comment he made?
Right there.
That nailed it.
Thank you, Dan, for being a part of this program. That's badass right there, checking in.
Yeah, one of the reasons there's less cards nowadays, every person thinks they should win. Only one person wins. Used to be you could work harder. Now they just quit. And he's not wrong. We see that. Somebody from the grandstands wants to run, and they want to be the badass of the bunch, so they hop in a damn pro modified. They go out there and get their ass stomped, and they don't know why, because you're not supposed to start in a pro modified. It's great if you got the money to do so, but that's usually not the best bet to start in a class that says pro in the title of the class name. So that we've seen a lot too. The flash in the pan, you'll see, and then you'll see a kid, all the accolades and stuff moving up the ranks, and then they get in and they have one or two bad races, and they just get pissed off, and they either move to another class or they just quit altogether. We've seen that a lot of times too, unfortunately.
Oh, that happens quite often. I mean, it's that immediate gratification thing that you see with it that happens now. And I mean, John Hernandez checking in right here, and this was a guy. I mean, John. I mean, the Goalsmobile right here is. I like to talk about him, but I remember I remember John back in these days, and John and my dad were very much in the same aspect to where, like what John's talking about here, 32 races. And this was all, there was not a week off, and you couldn't miss the races. I mean, you would not miss a Friday, Saturday night, whatever the hell it was. You would not miss a race. You found a way, even if you went and pile drove your car at San Antonio, which is usually where it happened. You found a way to get back to the track. And like John talks about right here, his son was 14. So John was all solo. And that's where, I sit here and talk about doing all these things with my dad. I mean, when I was racing, my dad was the one doing everything. When my dad was racing, I didn't do shit. I went to the races with him. That's all I did. And asked him to give me money to buy Joe Horn's hot dogs and nachos. That's all I did. I was no help. But that's where it's so different now. And back in those days, like Terry was talking about when he talked about that super stock class, it was one of those things to where when you got out there and you wrecked your car, I mean, you had to find time. You didn't have Amazon. You didn't have, Smileys and all these different people that could drop the shit right at your doorstep the next day. You had to go to the pick and pull, or you had to go to Big Four, or go to Aaron's, or go to wherever, and you had to go take that shit off. And you still never missed a week. And that was, once I started racing in Austin, Bobby, I've talked about this before on here, where it was like, if I had to miss a race, whether it be for wrecking the car or we just couldn't go that week for whatever reason, it was like, they're still going to race without me. They're still going to race without me back in those days. And that's where I see folks these days to where it's like, give me the schedule, give me the whatever. They're going to race without you. You are not the show. The show is the show. But I mean, it's a very different time. It's a very different time. And that's just, I love what you said right there. I'm getting long-winded here, but I love what you said right there, because COVID really did tailor that back. It did. I remember going, I think it was to TRP right after that. Maybe it was Cotton Bowl, one of those races where, no. It was Waco, where I went back and it's like, holy shit, I feel like it's 1985 again, because people were like, man, they love to be there. And it was a really different feeling now, to where we've kind of lost that appreciation again.
Well, it might have been Chase Elliott at the Derby in 2020 that caused all that sellout, but I also think it's because everybody was trying to come down and enjoy themselves in 2020, because that was one of the biggest crowds they had for a Derby weekend in a long time, not just for Sunday, but all week. Those places were packed and stuff like that at the Derby in 2020. But no, I mean, I think it's a challenge. Like we always say with the promoters we talk to, that's the magic sauce is, how do you get people off their ass and off their ass on their couch to sitting on their ass on a bench at a racetrack? There's no magic formula for it.
Yeah.
We see it all across the country. It's not just a Texas exclusive problem. So, I mean, I think that it becomes a problem to where, you just gotta, the product has to sell, right? You have to have that mixture between entertainment. It's like we talk about all the time. You got to have people buy into the program. You got to have you have to have the promoters buying into the concept of knowing that they have to work with the race fans and the and the drivers. Yep. Then you have to have that. Then you have to have and come on where it's like, the race teams have to know that, look, sometimes the call that the track makes not going to be always in the complete best interest of the single class, but it's the overall best interest of the racetrack. So, I mean, and I think, and the race fans really nowadays, the problem is the race fans are more involved now than they ever have, because they got keyboards, and sometimes that don't matter because half the keyboard warriors don't come to the damn racetrack anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's why Nick Saban said,
why do you care about what some guy puts on the internet who's a fat guy in his...
Yeah. I think we got him back. Terry, final thoughts right here. We got about 5 minutes left here. Kind of your thoughts on all this, kind of circling everything back. I mean, then and now, I sit here and piss and moan about the old days and get emotional talking about that. But the fact is, we still have, and look, like you said, you're not a dirt guy. I am a dirt guy. I work in the industry. I am in this now. We just need to appreciate the fact that we have short track racing, because that quick, it could be gone. I don't give a damn what discipline we're in.
and doesn't make any difference what track you're talking about. You hear all the time some of the most iconic racetracks that have been around for 50, 60 years. All of a sudden, bam, they're gone, and it's up to everybody. It's up to everybody who loves racing, who loves it as a short track deal, whether it's dirt or asphalt. It's up to us. It's up to us as the people that are working at the racetrack to put the best show on we can, to be as fair as we can to the drivers, and to get the drivers there, whatever it's going to take to get them there. It's also, and I tell the drivers all the time, you're in the entertainment business. You got to put a show on for your fans, and it's up to everybody. Everybody's got to come together, and without everybody coming together, we're not going to have it. We're not going to have it. And I honestly believe that we're looking at a turning point in asphalt with the amount of races that we've got here at HMP this year. And I heard Rodney a while ago, you were talking about, and Bobby, you know this, when you raced at Thunder Hill, we're not working on these cars every day. We don't have to work on them every day. We can get them ready to go in 3 weeks. We don't have 5 days to get them ready to go. There's so much now to where I don't see an excuse for not making it happen and not making it bigger than ever.
Yeah, I agree. Well said, Terry. As always, my friend, a pleasure. Thank you for having the Natty Light with me as we've been doing this. I think Bobby might be having one too. No, Bobby's probably not having Natty Light. He's probably having
I saw him. He had a Bud Light.
I've been drinking all day, guys.
Man, I had to work, so I wish I was there with you.
Yeah, I went to a football watch party today. The kickoff started at 10 o'clock. I've been drinking since 10 o'clock this morning, y'all.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I'm surprised we can understand any of your questions.
Right?
You said I was drinking. Didn't say I was drinking hard.
Yeah, there you go. You've been drinking like us, Terry. It's like I love Terry. It's like Linda said, I better get a 30-pack because I'm coming. So it's nothing more flattering than that. So when I found out that you would drink a Natty Light, I would only bring about 10 or 12 beers, so I wasn't going to drink that much. I had to drive back. And then Rodney says, "Oh, man, I like them Natty Lights." I told Linda we got to take a 30 now because now there's 2 of us. And we get back to the motel, who knows how late that's going to be. That's exactly right. We may not do it in the parking lot, but we still do it. So
we still do it.
That's right. Terry, Merry Christmas to all of you guys. Hug your wife for Bobby and I. I mean, I love you guys. You're some of my favorite people in this whole world, and always love sharing thoughts. And I know that we're going to be doing this for a long time.
We sure will. And hey, Merry Christmas to both of y'all and your families, and just happiest holidays to all of you.
That's right. All right, sir. Y'all be well.
Okay, buddy. Thank y'all.
You bet. There he goes, Terry Barden in the Revved Up shirt. That's what I'm talking about right there. That is what
you want a Revved Up shirt. Click on the QR code at the top left of the screen, and your family and loved ones and enemies can go and get that.
Yeah. I do want to touch on a couple of things right here because and I totally get it right here with the conversation right here from Jimmy. I think local tracks need to connect the drivers to the track. Big TV in the infield, that's money. Post-race interviews, I get that. I mean, I like that. I mean, every track should have that, I think, right now. Pit reporters, all of that. I mean, make it feel like NASCAR. I know. I totally get all that. And most tracks do a really good job with that. But I do think that and we've talked about this a lot on the program, to where doing stuff like this, it does cost money. I mean, it really does cost money to be able to do this. And a lot of these promoters, it's on a shoestring budget. I mean, they don't own the track. They're leasing it. I mean, we talked ad nauseum about the way that all of that works. I think a lot of this, it does kind of come back to the drivers in the sense that, okay, you need to promote yourself a little bit. It's not so much on the track to be doing that for you. Back in the day, like Terry was talking about, the track promoted itself because you had people that just showed up. Now with all the different things that you're talking about, Bobby, it's really hard to do that. And I think there's a big onus that goes on to the drivers to be doing this right now, in my opinion. And as a driver, I mean, look, if I get to race next week, my ass is promoting the hell out of it. I don't care if it's at ABC Speedway or at Talladega. I'm telling anybody that will listen that I'm going. And the track's not, which they shouldn't be, because it's me. I'm going to be the one that's going to be pushing that.
Well, it's worked that way to a certain extent. I mean, the track needs to. It's kind of like, think about it back in the golden age of the WWE, right, or WWF back in the day. There was one guy that was the champion who was bigger than everybody else. It's Hulk Hogan, right? You know, but nowadays it's about the WWE, not who the guy has the strap on, right? Who has the championship belt. So I think the track needs to look at it from the 1,000-foot view and try to promote everybody, where the drivers need to promote themselves, but also you have to find that happy medium to promote within your community and outside the community. It always blows my mind when we see it a lot. Hell, we've done it ourselves. When you get on Facebook and most of your friends are the racing community, you know, you think you and I have like 700 mutual friends and they're all from the damn racetrack. But it's like you get on there and you try to ask for sponsorship from all your racing friends who are all asking for the same sponsorship.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of think outside the box a little bit in that aspect. It's the same thing with promoting yourself. Use the social media tools. Say, hey, get your friends that hadn't been to the racetrack. Say, well, hell, he hadn't raced in a while. I need to go watch him fall flat on his face. I need to go watch him, you know, kick some ass. I need to do this. I need to do that. So I think there's that happy medium between trying to get the best out of social media that you can and going outside the boundary. I'm not saying write a press release and send it to the local newspaper. They're going to laugh at you and, well, what the hell? So, I mean, I think that it's there's got to be that happy medium for what you need to do from your side to promote yourself. Should the racetrack promote it? Yeah, but they promote everybody. That's what they promote everybody by keeping the doors open sometimes.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of the big screen. We've done that. It is a pain to coordinate the pit road interviews at the end because the drivers aren't used to that. You know, the drivers have to be trained. I mean, you know, I know that from experience because having to pull these guys at the end of the night to do pit road interviews, our winner circle interviews, they had to be trained to do that. And half of them still didn't show up after being told in a drive meeting, go see Bobby. He's going to sit at that table over there. When you pick up your check, pick up your money, pick up the damn microphone and sit down for 2 to 5 minutes with him and talk about your race. Yeah. The drivers aren't conditioned to that anymore. You have to make sure they know that. You got to get them in a rhythm to do that. You know, when the same guy, and then it sucks when the same guy wins over and over because you only ask the same 4 or 5 questions to the same guy over and over and over. So it's a magic touch that you have to work with and reevaluate every single week.
Yeah. And Jimmy, welcome to the Revved Up family. I mean, this is why we do this. I mean, it is to, I mean, thank you. I mean, because it's folks like you. I mean, share this, tell people, because we're just going to tell you what we're thinking. And because Bobby and I have both been on lots of different aspects of the sport. I mean, whether it be on the promotional side, behind the wheel, behind the mic, and doing whatever. And here's the one thing that I can tell you. And like Jimmy was talking about, like with Cletus McFarland, I mean, yes, what has happened there has just been unbelievable. But the thing is, when you have someone like that, when you have a personality that takes on a place like that, I mean, Cletus McFarland versus Joe Smith, the regular promoter at ABC Speedway, that they don't know what to do. I mean, they don't know this part, and it really is very social media driven. And you do, I mean, a lot of folks, when you talk about the presence of social media and what you can do with social media, if you really want social media to be impactful, you got to spend money, because it's gotten to that point, whether it be on the Facebook or on Twitter, Stitch, wherever it is. If you really want to get the clicks and the exposure, whatever, you're going to have to spend money, and you have to budget that part into your expenses. And that's where it gets really tough, because the expenses, a lot of times there's stuff that you can't figure out. I mean, if you're at a dirt track, the water truck breaks. Obviously, you probably don't own that. You're going to have to go find one. You're going to have to go rent one. You're going to have to do whatever's going to happen right there. So And that's just kind of the cost of doing business right there, to where that's where, as much as short track racing has grown in the sense where social media is so impactful, when it comes to that part, short track racing is still short track racing, because that's dollars out of your pocket. And and that's where it gets really, really hard for the promoters. And again, I really do think that there needs to be an onus on the drivers. And I will tell you guys one thing, guys and ladies, because I mean, I see a lot of proposals for sponsorships and whatever. And Bobby, they all, you know this, they all look alike. You know, like, I've got this event, I've got this track, and I've got, whatever. If you're going to do something, if you're going to put something together and you're going to invest the time into doing that, tell whoever it is that you're proposing this to what makes your event, what makes your track, what makes it different, because everybody else is probably finding that template that you found. Put some creativity into there and really, really make this something that's going, that whoever's going to read, and they're going to be like, holy shit, I'm blown away by this. You know, I mean, because it is. And I applaud and appreciate the folks that invest the time to do that. But you have to decipher yourself from everybody else, because everybody else is doing what you're doing. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just kind of drop some nuggets in there that are going to make you just a step or two above everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to, everybody's on that. It's kind of like, it's the exact opposite of the whack-a-mole, right? When the mole comes up through it, you got to smack his head down and get the 5 points for that. The difference is, this time you're the mole. Your goal is to pop up through the hole to get noticed and try not to get the hammer slapped down on you. So it's that, you know, all the racers are all sitting there doing it. Everybody pops their head up. Me, money, me, money, me, money. Yeah. And the sponsor's trying to beat their heads in, telling them to back away from the sponsorship money. But if you're one of the lucky moles that gets noticed and be like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, hey, you're going to get my money. Mm-hmm. And always remember the one thing, kids, if you're watching this, adults, if you're watching this, remember the magic phrase of what we've said for years on this show. You never know who's watching. Always remember that, because it could be Joe Blow's plumbing company, may be the next big thing. He may give you $50 this year, but he may give you $50,000 in 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really comes down to, I think, a lot of that with kind of to your reference right there about all of that. Set yourself apart, because it's always a lot of the proposals that you read. It's like, okay, I need $10,000 for my race. And it's like, okay, why? And look, I mean, these are just from people that I talk to. It's like, I get all these, I need $10,000 for a big race that I'm going to have. Okay, well, I've got how many of those? Tell me why yours is different. Tell me what's unique about yours. Tell me what the value is. Because here's the whole thing, Bobby. It's like anything else. You have to show, if you're going to go ask somebody for money, if you're going to go ask somebody for a job, if you're going to do whatever, I mean, if you're going to go out there and try to cut the grass across the street, and there are people over here that are doing it, you have to put in there, I'm going to be different because I'm going to weed eat along your sidewalk. I'm going to trim along the side to make it golf course ready, to make it looking that way. You have to set yourself apart from everybody else. And I think that's where, as much as we want to talk about folks not giving the effort, folks are giving the effort, but you have to kind of, that's the thing, like with Riley that we just talked about. I don't know what her proposals look like. I don't know what any of that looks like. That resume is one thing. You're going to look at that. But what she just did tonight, I hope that they clip this. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to fucking send this to them tonight to put in their package, because that young lady sends something to somebody and they see her talking to you and I, they're going to think about investing in that kid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like I said, somebody's always watching. But, you know, speaking of cutting the grass, that's how I got my yard guy. You've seen my long ass driveway. When they edged it up just right, I kept him because he actually put pictures on social media of my driveway. He's like, look at this. I need this picture driveway. But no, I mean, everybody, you know, it's we constantly, you know, if the young kids that listen to this, or the older group that listens to this, if they know one thing to tell the kids, somebody's always watching. And it doesn't matter if you and I are in a race, have a race car, and John Smith comes up and starts talking to us, and he may decide that he's got $100 in his pocket that he may just give us. Mm-hmm. you never know. You can't just be like, oh, who's this guy? What's that story behind Stanford University? The people that decided that they wanted to try to invest in one of the high-end universities got pushed around and they said, screw you. So they went out and built their own university, Stanford University.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other part of that is, for the, young and old, because old people, we're as guilty as anybody else with doing this. Always know, like you said, Bobby, somebody is watching. You don't get, I know things happen on the racetrack. We get irritated. We do whatever. And having just been at the Gateway Nationals and seeing that's a kind of a different thing. Don't make an ass out of yourself. Don't make an ass out of yourself. Don't, if you're a race promoter, don't talk bad about your customers. All these conversations that happen here, drivers, all the conversations that happen here, and this is my Christmas gift to you guys and ladies, all the conversations that we do here, set that down, pick this up and dial. Make a phone call. If you get voicemail, leave a message. Send them a text. Stay off of the keyboard.
And they'll call you back.
They will call you back.
They don't just call us back because we're friends, but they will call you back with a question.
Yeah. And like what Joshua was saying right here, if it's a good social media presence, that helps. But at the same time, you can do things on the internets that will kill your career or kill your potential. So it's a balance, man. It really is. As great as social media is, it can be so amazing, but at the same time, it could be detrimental. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Like you said, think of the Gateway Nationals. 2 examples of the Gateway Nationals. You got the one guy that did the 100-yard dash from his ruck car to the other guy, started beating the hell out of the guy with his helmet still on. And then you got the other guy that crashed in turn 1, had the mic shoved right in his face, and he took over the entire dome and said, you can't park there, and started a wave.
Yep.
2 different ways to use your spotlight. He got used, they both got used on social media the right way. That dude that did the 100-yard dash, that made Sports Center.
Yeah.
That made mainstream Sports Center. The problem is, do we want everybody to jump out of their car and go down to whoop somebody's ass? No, not always. We don't want that Bowman Gray effect every week, but it's that happy medium of, you want to have emotion, but you don't want to be emotional or emotionless, right? Because you want everybody to have that fire, but don't let the fire burn you in the ass coming up in a couple of years by having that. So, our good buddy Craig Carlucci Jr., every time somebody talks to him from the old days, what do they remember? They remember 2 things: getting looched, little bump and run, so to speak. That's the fancy word for it down in the Corpus Christi area. Or the flying Carlucci. That's all he's known for, despite winning multiple track championships in multiple disciplines in multiple classes.
That's
always got to be mindful that somebody's watching.
Yeah. And that's really the important thing. Just know that and kind of set yourself apart from everybody else. And that's been the really cool part about, I don't think it was the intent of this show, the way that it worked out tonight, where we started out with a young talent in Riley Allen that's going to do really, really cool things. And then we go to Terry Barden, who's a, grizzled veteran, as a race director, as a past racer that has raced with some of the best talent that we're ever going to see in these parts. You tie that all together, and that's where we are right now. And that's where we go to, the question that we had at the top of the program. It's like, what do you want for your, and I think as we get ready to finish this thing off, what do you want for your sport in 2025 and moving forward? And I think with short track racing that we really need to have, I know people don't want to hear this. You need to have that basis. With this thing with Bowman Gray and with the Clash going there, I really think that's a big deal. I think that's a big deal to maybe tie this thing together. And it's already gone here to the negative side because they're putting in safer barriers and doing different. So what? Embrace some.
Darn, somebody is adding in infrastructure to your racetrack, an investment in infrastructure. Let's just talk bad about that.
Well, and I've talked to people over there. It's going to ruin our racing once the regular racing starts. is that shit going to stay there? They may take those things out. I mean, they took them out at the Clash. It's the same ones they use there because I saw that California restaurant on the wall there. So, I mean, just let it happen. Just let it happen. And I'll tell you, I think that with that basis on the Cup thing, Honda and Nissan are about to discuss a merger. And that is, I think, when it comes to Cup and we talk about OEMs coming in, I think that's going to change in the next few years. And that's only going to open things up, I think, for all of us, Bobby. And that needs to be embraced. Not straight to the negative.
There won't be a new OEM until we get rid of the V8. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm. Right here, man. Jimmy hit the nail on the head right here. I want kiddos that came to the track the first time ever to annoy their parents until they bring them again. And that's
exactly what we need.
Win the kids.
And they have a clean bathroom for mama. That's the key.
That's it. This is a full entertainment business. And you guys that are driving or being on the crew or track officials, don't be an ass out there. I know that's very hard when you have all these, lug nuts that are coming at you and all these knuckleheads doing whatever. I mean, get out there and entertain. You're not in the racing business. You're in the entertainment business. I posted something the other day on Lone Star Speed Zone because something came up about the whole thing about having another short track in Texas. We have one. That's all that we can have right now.
People do good to support that one.
That's right. They don't do that now. They go everywhere else but Houston. Support that track. But the whole thing is, when I have talked to people that have entertained the idea of doing a short track, Bobby, they don't tell me, what would the racers think? How would the racers do this?
They're like, before I get my money back?
They don't ask those questions, Bobby. They're like, what would the competitors think? What would the teams do? What's the investment here? What would my ROI be on this? Whole different world. Whole different world. And dirt's going that way too. Dirt friends, don't sit there laughing at pavement. You guys too are moving into that chartered area where you're really, really growing. You are really growing, and you've got a lot of classes, and you've got a lot of modifieds and B mods and E mods and all these different things. You are about to get into uncharted water that asphalt has been through. Don't end up like asphalt in Texas, because you see what's left, and it ain't much. It ain't much.
Hey, breaking news. Check this out. I just noticed on our buddy Jay Hallis's Facebook page.
Yeah.
The Southern Drag Boat Association is not coming back to Marble Falls in 2025.
Ooh. See? I mean, that's
Paris, San Angelo, Grove, Oklahoma, and Wheatland, Missouri.
Damn.
That's it.
Damn. That is massive. That has been a staple event for a long time. Wow. When is that? In 2025?
2025.
Damn.
Unless they expand that schedule they just released, but it doesn't look like it's coming back to Marble Falls.
Man, and not only
that's a local race for those that looking on a national scale. That's a local boat race within 4 hours of the house. So
well, but that is a national staple event. We've had our friend Katie on here that has talked to us what that does for the economy of Marble Falls. I mean, that weekend is a quarter of their economy that for the year. Holy shit. I'll tell you. That's rough. That's rough for them. I know we have lots of friends. Again, we'll wind this thing down with the motocross thing. We get folks that reach out about motocross. If you're a motocrosser, if you're whatever, I don't care what part of the country you're in, reach out to us, because we cover that here too. This is #Real Race Talk. We talk about motocross. We talk about everything. We have talked to different people on here, and that's what we want to do, is showcase you folks. So it just takes a small amount of your time to jump on here and talk about your racetrack and talk about your series and talk about your whatever, 2-4 wheels. I don't care. If you have a unicycle class, we will showcase you here as long as it's a valid thing.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We do vet some people. We have to. We've
learned the hard way that we may go down the road and it's like you take that minnow and we bite. But I think we've learned at this point. Okay, holiday times, Bobby, coming up. What is your holiday? So what are you guys? I mean, it's Christmas in the middle of the week is kind of hey, dude, I just love football. I'm going to have a lot of fun Friday because the team that I cover is obviously playing on January 1st. But I'm looking forward to Friday, Bobby, because we got Tech, OU, and the Texas A&M Aggies playing some bowl games. So that's going to be a lot of fun as we wind up towards the weekend.
I actually have the whole week off.
Oh,
I know, that's amazing. I have the whole week off. Well, the agency's closed Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But luckily I took today off because I wanted to watch the UTSA bowl game. And then Friday I had a chance to take off because somebody else in the department was working. I'm like, I'm off. So I took the whole week off. So basically it's just going to be, I have to do my Christmas shopping in the morning. And then get that wrapped up. I have 3 adults,
literally
3 adults and 3 kids to buy for tomorrow. We're gonna do Christmas with my mom over at my parents' house, and then I guess the next day, Christmas Day, will be all day with the in-laws at their house. So it'll be, it's kind of, you got to get back to that sense of normalcy, and that's basically what we're trying to do. So that's what it's shaking out at with as busy and as crazy as the last couple of weeks have been anyway. So
it's been a hell of a time for you, and thank you all for being a part of the program, and we appreciate you guys and all of our new friends that are checking in. These numbers have been amazing tonight. So I think
we will be on next week.
Oh, yes, we will be on it. And for those of you that are new, wherever you're checking in, it's every Monday, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern is the time, and it's live. I mean, I've gotten some Facebook messages. It's like, man, I'd never heard of this show before. Yeah, whatever. Well, this is what you get. This isn't something that we just kind of casually do every now and then. We both take this very serious, and as you can tell, and this is kind of what we do. So
and hit us up with show ideas. revvedupsportshow@gmail.com. We're open to show ideas. If you got something, message one of us on social media. You got a driver you want us to talk to, hit us up. We'll talk to them any discipline, anytime, any form. That's what we're all about. If you got some young kids that need some help with the media training, tell them to hook us up. We'll take care of that too.
And it's free. It's not one of those things to where we are too dumb to charge you. So, and again, I mean, it's not one of those things. I mean, I think it's for the betterment of the sport, because we have both done this for so long, and we've had guys like Terry, that joined us tonight, that we've all done this so long that we see, the way that the sport is going, maybe not in the right direction in a lot of ways that we want it to be. We just want to be able to still do this. And we do this online, and, we work with Racing America and Flow and Race On and all the different Track TV. We work with all of those folks, but we still do highly encourage you, get your ass to a racetrack, because that is the best place to really experience the joy that is short track racing.
That's right. Take a friend. Every time I go to a racetrack, I'm taking somebody new.
Yeah. I mean,
if I don't, Marianne's like, where's your new people? I didn't bring anybody. Why not?
This is where you build relationships. I mean, look at racing. A lot of people, their relationships start at a racetrack. They've got 3 or 4 ex-wives that they met at the racetrack. They've got former family members that they met at the racetrack. They've got ex-girlfriends. They've got ex-best friends, and they met at the racetrack, because that's what the sport is. And there's stereotypes or whatever, but I embrace the stereotype. We love it. I mean, we love it, and that's why we do it.
Yeah, well, we used to live it. Now we're on the better side of the stereotype now.
Yeah, I don't know about that. There's still this. So
that's true.
Be better with that. Be better with that, you guys, in 2025.
What are you doing for Christmas?
Hanging out here, grilling burgers. It's going to be the kids, Tracy, the dogs, and I. And this year, an added bonus, Kendall's boyfriend.
Well, you got to meet him on Saturday, though, didn't you?
I've met him. I met him a long time ago, and he's a great young man. So, Bobby, both of my girls are employed.
Damn.
Yeah, Chloe's got her gig there at Paramount, and Kendall got an immediate gig at a charter school. So it's like, holy shit. Yeah, it's really good. They've grown up, and they're doing good things, which is
my better half is always open to talking to her, by the way, if she has questions.
Man, I will absolutely pass that on, because that's really all that we can hope for. Bobby, I'm going to try to not get emotional here. I felt horrible because I had to do what I had to do on Saturday, and I hoped that you understood that I had to take care of that. But I want you to know that your dad, I think about the trips to Pensacola. When he would call, what's old Rodney doing? Yeah, I'm on the phone, Dad. I'm right here. I'm listening to
we're right here on speakerphone.
Yeah, and I know that there were times when he'd call and you're like, ignore. I just talked to you. Ignore. So that day, I'm sorry I had to miss that, but I hope you know that for you, your mom, your family, it's been been hurting for you guys, and I applaud the way that you have handled this, because you've done it in a way that I don't think that I can do it. And I'm proud of you, brother, and I love you. And I know that everything is everything's going to be good for you guys. The fact that it happened at this time of the year, I think it sucks, but at the same time, it's that you're going to have that togetherness, and hopefully that's something that's going to build you guys and hopefully help you guys moving forward.
Well, like I said on Facebook today, there's going to be a void that can't be filled, by no means. But with the support of friends and family and loved ones and stuff like that, we'll get through it. And it's a day at a time, a step at a time, a phone call at a time. So it's not ideal. Saturday was bittersweet, but it went on without a hitch, and actually worked out fairly well. Actually, it's kind of nice to see when the plan comes together. So sad deal, but we're getting through it. So just the way my dad would want us to. It's just keep doing another show, keep moving along, keep having another good day.
You might want to jump off here, because I went in there and I thought it was really I loved what you did for your dad there at the Celebration of Life, and I'm going to play that for our folks, because when we talk about the relationships that this sport builds and how important family is and so forth and so on, I mean that's what it's all about. So if you want to jump off, that's totally good. But as we exit out here, and we're going to wish a Merry Christmas to everyone. We're going to be back before the new year. But Bobby's been living through hell here the last 2 weeks, as it has been. And this dude stood up and honored his dad this past weekend at the Celebration of Life. And we'll bid you adieu and see you on the other side as we approach 2025. That's coming up. But thank you all for being a part of the program. And let's send out our man, Mr. Chaffee, one final time as we wave that checkered flag with that damn phone ringing to see what's going on.
This is hard. I've been to more services in this room than I can count. This time it's a lot different. When having an interview or a presentation to a group, I always like to go first. This is one time I don't want to go first. In fact, I don't want to go at all. This is by far the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, so please bear with me. When we were trying to set up this service and asking people to speak, everybody that we asked wanted to know if I was speaking. My response was, I don't know if I have the ability to. I still feel that way. I may be a little speechless, and for those that know me, know that doesn't happen very often. By definition, speechless is being unable to speak because you're so angry, shocked, and surprised. I would say the anger has subsided, the shock is wearing off, and I'm not sure why I'm surprised at the number of people that have come to support our family and pay their final respects to my father. Blue was my dad's favorite color. I see a lot of you wearing it today, but I've gone in a different direction. I'm wearing green to remember him. Many of you know, and for those that don't, I call my dad Frog. The story behind it is I was a rebellious teenager and wanted to do things that simply just annoyed my dad. I found that his nickname in high school was Frog, and for some reason it just stuck. And as crazy as it sounds, it did have its advantages. Try yelling dad in the crowd and no one blinks an eye. Yell Frog in the crowd and I get the response I needed every time. Fortunately for me, when it comes to the name Frog, I've been lucky enough to go my whole life without his friends or my friends calling me Tadpole. There's no reason for that to start now because one frog in the family is enough. Frog and I had a great relationship over the years. Give me advice on life and some direction I needed to take. Sometimes I listened, sometimes I didn't. I did listen when he told me to get my act together. And finally asked Elizabeth to marry me. And always treat her right. Ironically, on that note, one story about my dad that comes to mind is the night that I invited him to my bachelor party. As you can imagine, he, along with some new friends and our special new friends, stole the show. Those stories can be reserved for another time in a more appropriate place. So many of the stories can be shared about my dad, from Boy Scouts to FFA and ag projects, sitting at a racetrack with his family on Saturday night. Many know him from simply being a nice guy while on duty at the Garrett Job Corps front day, or waiting in line to pick up the grandkids. However you knew him, we all knew him with a smiling face. While there's so much more to say, and I can go on and on, I'll say this in closing. Elizabeth and I do not have any kids of our own. I'll never get the chance to live up to the father that he was to us. And the grandfather that he is to my niece and nephew. However, I do get a chance to be the good person that he was by always having a smile and trying to take in the good things in life that I take for granted every day. On behalf of our family, we thank you for being here, and may God bless you all. Thank you.